So I saw a few comments like this, and I understand it's like a common explanation for Arab identity in our region, but we're not making it to an understanding of our identity with this one. Like, yeah, we have pretty good evidence that the early settlers in Arabia descended from the Levant. But that was what, like 20,000 BCE? Like pre Neolithic age, like late Ice Age. Like my brother in Arabhood, the Europeans had like dark skin back then. The world population was what, 1 to 5 million? That's like somewhat like saying Indians and French are the same people because we all, came from Africa. And by the way, even Semitic languages don't come from that far. The most accepted theory places it like 15,000 years after, the migration happened. The population in the Levant has more European, like Anatolian genetic input than, say, what we consider to be like Arab genetic input. That does not make them like European. Levantine Neolithic farmers migrated to North Africa in 9000 BCE. Like a study found in a sample from 5000 BCE found like 50% of the genetic admixture coming from the Levant. Does that make North Africans like Phoenicians or Canaanites? No. Christian Copts in Egypt are considered a distinct group from, say, the Arab Egyptians, the Muslim Egyptians. Meanwhile, they are not very distinct genetically. Same thing applies in like Morocco, say, between like the Amazigh and the Arabs. There's no like really great genetic distinction there. There's only like an ethnic distinction. That is busy. What happened was there was a time called like the pre-axial age where civilizations identified locally with a national religion, like the Egyptian religion or the Canaanite polytheism or Mesopotamian polytheism. And then like say after 1,000 years of empires being like highly active and getting passed in the region from one empire to the next, like Babylonian, Persian, Greek, Roman / Byzantine, etc. They essentially lost these religions but still like identified primarily with the religious community, a practice that would actually remain until like 18th century colonialism. Due to the way like identity works, that led to Arabization. By the way, this is not like something unique at that time. I mean, like West Asian regions did get Persianized in a very similar manner by the Persian Empire. It's why, for example, even centuries after the spread of Islam, scholars like Ibn Sina or Al-Khwarizmi as well saw themselves as Persian, despite and like wrote their work in Farsi, despite like being from today Afghanistan or Uzbekistan. But due to the integration and like cultural activity during like the Abbasid time, like this secondary cultural linguistic identity as Arab emerged. Like they were not genetically testing people in the Levant, and they had no idea that Arabia, the settlers in Arabia came from the Levant, like 20,000 BCE. But like this happened over 1,400 years, right? Like think about that. Think about your own national identity and how strong it is. And it's like for what, 100, 200 years? Well, imagine if it was for 1,400 years, even if it started out as secondary, and in truth it remained secondary, but it was like cemented as an identity for 1,400 years. Some identities take like far less time to cement. Like anthropologically speaking, genetics and identity are not mutually exclusive. And genetic purity is like a modern myth. People didn't even know about genetics back then. Like the reason why the population in the Levant and in Arabia were very distinct by the time of like the Arab conquest, genetically speaking, a big reason for that was that because they were mixing with different neighboring regions, right? Like genetic purity is not a thing at all. Of course, when you become like a part of empire, like intermingling happens, and so like a lot of the populations in the region would gain like an average of 8 to 13 genetic input from Arabia, as well, like, by the way, an increase of, cross-region genetic input. And that's like expected. That's been happening for like all of human history, is the point. The point I'm trying to make is genetic doesn't come like stamped with culture and identity. Sure, that association like came a lot stronger in modern times, especially with like nation states, like, but 1,400 years is like a super long time, like if you think about it. How long did like, an Arab identity even exist before that, right? Like, we don't need the genetic narrative. It's only valuable from like a European like modern perspective. That's it.